concerns we had for BNK going to playoffs is, what if the enemy teams just outdraft you, don't allow you to play their trademark style? Take away the Maokai, take away the Vi. This Azir ban, I feel like, is a must ban against T1. Like, people are banning Vi against Raptor every game. Why can't they just ban Azir against Faker every game? They will do it this time. Was Faker the main character? No. But maybe if you have a better lane matchup, you could actually punish him and get Closer online.
Yeah, I think absolutely. There's that LeBlanc just popping up here and there, mostly against C plus Kia, against Showmaker. But I said it before, you know, Faker can definitely play LeBlanc, and would have felt pretty nice in that game as well if you had even more side lane threat just with the way that they were playing. Didn't end up needing it, but it does show that BNK were thinking about it. They will ban it away. The Zyra also taken off the board, even though it felt like the Zyra didn't do all too much, which leaves Rumble for free.
Yeah. Do not blind Renekton when Rumble is up. Do not blind Cassante when Rumble is up. Sorry, he was like, oh, my bad, I misclicked. I pressed the top icon, sorted by top champions, and then just a few, you know, squares off there. This does leave Ashe Sejuani, which feels pretty good.
Also, if Zeus is in form and he's playing like that and he's taking advantage of a Renekton, we've seen players do it with Kennen into Rumble as well. I mean, maybe they just say, we're not too scared about Rumble, we'll just take care of him in the side lane and just not really try to team fight, but they do have Ashe and Lilia now.
I think that if Closer shows a mid pick here, then it's hard for Faker to actually not try to opt for a counter pick. If they end up going for Zeus, just counter pick into the Rumble, then Faker can get choked out really hard. And it's weird to say like Faker's champion pool is small, considering the amount of champions he's played over his career, but right now it feels quite small. So, especially with the Lilia lock in here, I do feel like you can protect this Rumble now that the Ashe was locked in, that they went for the Lilia. The question is, what is Closer going to play? Is it just going to be Corki? Not going to be a Closer pick at all, doesn't look like here, with the Jhin to be locked.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, Yone's available, Corki's available. Maybe he didn't want to blind Yone, even though it feels very good in that comp, because then Faker just plays Corki. But yeah, it's just Jhin.
So now they can just lock Kennen if they feel like Zeus can play Kennen into Rumble. Feels like one of the best options. Camille will be the opt-in instead. Can be quite punishing into this pick, but doesn't have the best jungle setup for it. And we have seen like support Camille, don't like to talk about it. I think this is definitely going to be Zeus' pick, but let's see what else they want to draft around it. Leona taken away. Pretty self-explanatory there. Banned in game one. Be the Braum Ashe lane. Denied. Remember, level 1 Ashe caused them a lot of problems last game. Braum would have made it even worse. Maybe a Rakan ban here, but Rakan Jhin feels kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ban will end up being.
Bard. I feel like Bard in the BNK composition is really good.
I was going to mention the Yone because they still have the Sejuani. Could just ban Closer away from playing that and feel a little bit more safe. Does feel like a strong ban rather than kind of throwing darts at the board with the blindfold on, trying to figure out what that bottom lane is going to look like here for BNK. So this final ban will end up being... It's going to be Rel. Rel doesn't feel incredibly powerful with this composition, but they already have a lot of CC. Faker will look to lock this Corki in. Lucian has really fallen out completely here as a response to this.
He doesn't look all too confident about it. I mean, there's not really a lot of other picks that Faker has played recently other than like Tristana. So it's just going to be Corki, which does get blinded fairly often nowadays. Yeah. So it's not too surprising.
We could see Closer play Lucian here. Could end up playing... I mean, there's a lot of other picks he could go for that have Permafrost synergy, but they all feel very fringe. Like, is he really going to want to pull out his classic Sylas? It's just going to be the Zeri. So, kind of forgot about this one. This one always feels like a pick that is a trap, but has just been so winning in the mid lane right now that I need to respect its power. As the final pick here will be Duros.
Yeah. I think it's good, especially because they have that Jhin. There's that Rakan.
Yeah.
It's a bit awkward, but it is Duro, and he likes the pick.
It's really hard into this comp, though. You get shredded so easily. And Poppy feels very good into it, if that is in fact going to be locked in here. Yeah. Keria is laughing, but then the smile faded away when he looked over to Kuma. I think he's still going to get to lock this one in. Poppy being a support pick that's kind of fringe right now, but feels very strong into Leona, feels very strong into Rakan, feels very good with the Camille. Bard feels very strong as well. You know, you highlighted it earlier.
I meant it for the BNK side, but we end up with it anyway.
Yeah. I think it would have been fine for either side. Does feel very good into the Jhin lane, though, and very powerful with Ashe. But let's see how Closer does on the Zeri mid here. Doesn't feel like very much a closer champion, but it is winning against the Corki specifically a lot. And we are seeing so many mid laners just crush even strong mid laners on the Corki with this Zeri pick. That often goes ignored when you have that early AD carry pickup. People are kind of thinking about, you know, okay, well, we're going to pick Corki, it's safe. We banned away some of those other picks. Tristana's fallen off. And then the Zeri comes through. And then you have a weaker, like, scaling AD carry in the Jhin. More utility, a lot of range. Feels like you're in a good spot. Then Zeri shows up and like, oh, now we got to deal with this really scaling AD carry that can warp team fights. A bit of an interesting draft here. I do think that T1's draft has the tools. It's got great lockdown. The Zeri isn't that scary because you have the Camille. So you could just simply put her in the Hextech and then blow her up. There's that follow-up there. BNK's engage is somewhat tricky to pull off with the Sejuani, Jhin, and the Rakan. Top side, though, the Rumble should have a decent amount of agency if played well by Clear here. If he makes a mistake, Zeus absolutely can punish.
Yeah, that top lane going to be a big one to focus on in this game number 2, and let's do it. We have game number 2 loaded up. Let's go on to the Rift. Off we go to game number 2, as Keria just recently got a skin from Winning Worlds for Bard.
True.
And I don't think it's available for him to play in this game.
I don't think so.
But they did just recently come out like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe you can give homage anyway. Yeah, he's not using his skin.
Yeah, I don't think it's available on this patch, even on tournament. So we'll see if he can get anything done here at level 1. Hannah will just put down a ward. Cleared. And zombied.
Yeah. Always feels good to get that zombie ward up. And they're going to continue invading Owner on the Lilia. Loves taking Raptors.
He does. Loves taking Raptors. Yeah. He does enjoy a good Raptor takeaway. He gets his Raptors to go. Because he gets them and then he goes. And let's see how this matchup goes, because both of the soul lanes I feel like are relatively volatile. And Closer plays well with the burst fire. We've seen Zeri solo kill Corki. We've seen all-ins at level 6 come through. And then the top lane matchup, if Clear spaces well with his harpoons, can kind of keep Zeus at bay. He did go for Grasp. He also has Comet, so can kind of, and Scorch, so can kind of continue to put that pressure on with harpoons, trade that damage out, so it's difficult for Zeus to kind of hit an all-in. Until he hits level 2, obviously a little bit tougher. See on the minimap, Zeus going in for a hook shot and being very annoying up there. He will stem the bleeding. Faker's 5-5 on this Corki pick. It's been very much a pick he's been hit and miss on.
Yeah, and Keria hasn't played a single game of Bard this season. It just feels like, you know, especially in round 1, this was a very heavy engage meta for the support role. And he has played quite a few games of Rel and even some Nautilus games, Leona, a whole bunch, of course, just because they were so meta. But finally, now at the very end of the season, he gets to play Bard. So definitely one of the pro players that's more well known for playing Bard relatively consistently compared to everyone else.
Yeah, certainly a iconic pick for him. And for, you know, his counterpart in the 2022 finals, World Finals, Barrel. Two iconic Bard players. And looking at the mid lane here, so even, or so far so even, as going to be a bit of a quieter early game in this one. It's Bard and Ashe, so can put some pressure on, but kill pressure much harder to find with this lane. Hannah did take cleanse, which is going to be high value into that Ashe.
I think this top lane is going to be very important in this game once again. Zeus on a split push pick like the Camille. Here comes Owner invading in onto Duro, but now he's just going to have to flash the wall. Keria just puts down a magical journey kind of into nowhere, but T1 do want to fight this. Just stay straight up 4v4 in the jungle, just fighting it up. There's the flash stun onto 2, and the follow-up comes in. Raptor solo, double knockup from Duro, but it just doesn't matter. The damage is taken away, and T1 will pick up 2 kills in one of the most random fights I've ever seen.
Yep, they just say, I'm going to skirmish with you. You guys want to fight this one out? We have 280 carries. You have kind of 1.5 in the Jhin territory. Not able to really offer too much here, as ended up just getting the flash stun. Guma also flashing, Owner flashing for the play. A lot of flashes utilized, but ultimately 2 kills going over 1 apiece to both of T1's 80 carries in this composition. Clear has, as I mentioned, once you get those first few levels in, has taken control of this matchup and is trying to burn his way to an advantage. It all starts off here when Raptors are respawning, and then Duro ends up trying to make this play here, whiffs it, doesn't have his knockup anymore, and I feel like at this moment for BNK, you're like, oh, I think they can't win this. We're doing a decent amount of damage. But then, slows come through, stun comes through, Henna is Jhin, he hits his big one, his 4th shot, and then he's like, well, I'm reloading. And they'll all be reloading out of the spawn room after Keria makes a fantastic play. They had Prio. Closer's pushed away by the Gatling gun. This was not a fightable situation there for BNK, and T1 just judged the situation way better and have that clutch play from Keria.
Yeah, it turns out, you know, when you flash on in, you get a stun right onto the front line. It's very obvious where the damage needs to go, whereas Owner, a very good job to just flash away, not really be scared about using his flash early on. He says, well, I'm out of position. I'm just going to flash and we're going to re-engage. And so BNK never really had an opportunity after that to kind of go forward and target one guy down. Whereas T1, obviously, with the carry engage, did exactly that. So kind of an awkward one. I guess really they just wanted to, like, Owner was pushing in. He wanted to get the Raptors again on respawn. And they got a lot more than just the Raptors, we can say. Speaking of which, going in this time, Owner on the Lilia is here once again. He's level 6.
Yeah. Didn't force the cleanse out. Zeus may be in trouble.
Ooh. Okay, well, he is burning a bit, but Equalizer is not going to get the kill. Meanwhile, in mid, there's that level 6. Faker not really concerned. He just wants to get the minions, but he might have to pay for it. The slow comes in, as now looking to turn around. Will try to flash the wall, but Closer's got a flash of his own. Meanwhile, they're diving the bot lane. That's not going very well. They're going to abandon that as the sleep comes in. Duro actually gets stunned up. It will be a kill onto Duro.
So they trade one back anyways as Faker disrespects the Zeri level 6. He didn't have his ultimate for that last skirmish, and I think if he had, it would have been a very different fight, but he is able to take Faker out. But in the meanwhile, another big stun to come through. The sleep is decent there from Owner. And they end up just getting that kill there onto Duro. So a trade back here. Ashe now with 2. We'll go the mid lane fight first. Faker, unfortunately, just in range of the ult here, trying to clear the wave desperately so that he can actually just avoid that all-in entirely, gets slowed here, and then decides to flash because he wants to trade Closer's flash. I don't think Closer had Extendo Beam just yet because he just used it for the slow. So that will force him to flash. If he had it, maybe he could have gone for the snipe there, but either way, used it to get the slow to bring us to that position anyways. And then this dive starts off very rough. Magical Journey gets them on the other side of the turret, and it's just a stun to come down here. Once again, Keria setting these up. Guma knocks him down. This Ashe is significantly far ahead of the Jhin. A Jhin that feels so out of place in this draft, especially if they're going to be skirmishing this heavily early.
Well, he found a moment to get this Zeus stat up. He is going to press his R button onto Clear, who does have flash, and there's no more lockdown, so, well, they got the flash out of him, they'll say. Hashtag worth. But now we got a fight in mid once again as Faker's just being run down here by the Zeri. He has this Valkyrie over the wall. It's a big one, though, to the face of Closer as it gets extremely close, and now Duro makes his way in, so Faker has to back away.
Still a pretty big win here for Clear, though, or sorry, for Closer, because he's just going to be able to push this wave in. Faker will actually stay for it. Thought he was going to have completed that back as, Clear
Actually gets pushed out of the bowling ball. That's going to force Zeus to flash once he sees Raptor. And Duro is here once again. More and more action.
Yeah, very silly fight as Raptor was there with ult as well. So Zeus actually ends up being the one who has to flash now. Guma's going to get another plate here on the bottom side solo. This Ashe is going to become a big problem if left unchecked. And Henna is just, I mean, he's 20 CS down. He is so far behind. And in terms of early game relevance, there are very few champions, or there's very few sets of champions you could have in the bottom duo where the gap is wide in terms of relevance if you're even. But Jhin, without a lot of setup, isn't going to be very strong in the early game. Ashe is incredibly strong in the early game and now has a significant lead on top of that. So there's a bit of a canyon going on down here as well. So top side winning for BNK. Bottom side, definitely Guma's game.
Yeah. Duro finally going to return home. This is kind of the way things go nowadays. The support's all over the map and trying to make plays for the grubs and even trying to get top in this game. And finally, he just make his way down. So Keria also going to make his way down. There is a Drake available here, Cloud Drake, which does feel pretty nice, you know, for the Lilia, for the Ashe kiting, even for the Bard. But actually just not going to start that up. So no Drakes to be taken here, even after 10 minutes.
Now, Owner's topside, and this is going to try to clear some vision here around the upcoming grubs. We did not see Closer all-in Faker a second time here with his ultimate. He was pushing up and looking like he was going to threaten it, potentially, but Faker just backs. A little bit late to catch some of these mans. I believe it was a cannon wave, though, so it won't be too much lost. As finally Keria gets level 6, and he's already had such a big impact in this game. We'll see what he can get done with his Tempered Fate. Bit of a lurk here on said grubs. Owner was topside.
Yeah, just trying to make a play happen, but Raptor a bit alone. He does have Closer coming up, and the equalizer is good as well. Owner will be taken down. And now Zeus just on the run. This Zeri just getting so much value in this game. Zeus just go back into the pit, but no hook shot and no escape for the top laner of T1. So that's 2 kills now, going back over to BNK.
That was a really decisive call from Raptor to look for that ultimate to start the fight off. Closer can join in very quickly on the Zeri and ends up getting an insanely high-value team fight. T1 really wanted that topside control. We're hoping, I think, to win that, then go bottom side and take control of the grubs to the prio that Guma set up, but we're not expecting such a decisive response from BNK. As Faker's going to take 2 turret shots here, but it wants this plate and will be rewarded with it. I think totally worth.
Yeah, Raptor now waiting. Thankfully for Zeus, Keria's coming up here, and he does have his ult available. It's just going to hook shot into Clear. BNK unsure about what to do now that Keria shows up, but Zeus is going on in, and he's in a bit of trouble as, the ults have stacked, and now we got a TP coming in. The double stun comes in from Keria. A lot of damage coming out of this Rumble, but there's just too many players coming up to the top side for T1 as Faker's TP does get a lot of value, picks up that kill, but meanwhile, Closer's just getting plates in mid.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of, we're winning somewhere else, but there's an exchange of plates on the other side of the map type of game, as Clear was getting plate gold topside before this play gets set up. So go all the way back to this one, and we were talking about like Maokai versus Sejuani earlier. This is the kind of play I'm talking about that the ult does allow for with Sejuani. If you're just so quick on the trigger finger and it looks like you find an angle that the opponent doesn't expect, they don't have the time to react. Flash is still expended from Owner. Isaias hook shots, unfortunately, into a direction where he's not going to be able to get out of that pit. Doesn't have the flash from the previous play. And then here, Keria showing up means this play is over, and B&K look a little bit lost as to what to do next. Clear decides to all in with his Flame Spitter because he's like, well, we're not getting out of here. It's almost enough damage, but then once Faker TP's through, they end up getting the cleanups here. Duro shows up. Closer was heading up, but then he's like, it's doomed, and I'm just going to get played some mid instead. So small win here for T1, small win in the mid lane in return. Clear is still massively ahead, but so is Guma in the bottom lane. So we kind of have like this very weak Camille that's not going to be a side lane threat for a very long time, if ever. But we also have this Jhin that wasn't really an AD carry to begin with, but isn't really going to be relevant in this game for a while.
I'll figure taking a bunch of damage here in mid. And yeah, it really just comes down to where do you want that money. And on the side of B&K, they're looking to really eliminate Zeus from the game. And Hannah's just joined Clear, pushing the top lane. There should be an inner going down already 13 minutes into the game. So not only did they get all the plates in top, they got an extra turret before 14 minutes.
I mean, obviously the gold lead is in B&K's favor right now. You know, they end up getting so much money off of those plays topside there, the inner turret stacking up. Guma will be able to get this turret in return, but it's going to be a Herald taken. I look at this game state, though, heavily favored towards B&K because the Fed Rumble versus, you know, Faker's Corki is pretty even, right? You know, even though he got all in and there was some mistakes made, he's not too far behind. And Guma having a ton of money doesn't necessarily matter if they're not able to set up team fights or frontline for him, because the frontline is somewhat predicated on this Camille being somewhat relevant, at least. And when that Camille is just going to get burned down by a Rumble or burst down by Closer in the beginning of a team fight, then suddenly the Ashe just doesn't have a front line to actually utilize that gold. The Jhin being irrelevant doesn't matter as much if the Zeri is just going to be online this early, plus the Fed Rumble. Because if you just get a Sejuani ult into Rumble ult, boom, Glacial Prison, Equalizer, somebody's dead before the fight even starts. That money, I feel, is way more valuable. Not to say that this game is over, but at this moment in time, I have to give a pretty big edge to B&K.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, this Zeri is just pretty massive at this point. Actually, the only one that has a bounty in the game. It really just comes from the insane farm he has alongside of the 2 kills and the assists. So definitely it feels like Closer has a big opportunity to carry this one. There's so many threats on the side of B&K that you have to deal with, and the Jhin doesn't really have to be one of them. He can just kind of enable the rest of the threats to do their job. And he'll still be able to. You see Mikhail's first for Duro. Just, you know, just ready to deal with arrows, ready to deal with sleeps. And so he's going to lose a bit of tankiness, but sometimes he's just going to go in, go out, cast Mikhail's, and that's all he's got to do. Henna just, he doesn't get to play the game. That's still true.
Yeah, but likewise, we do see Zeus is kind of playing the game up here on the top side, so that's a good look. The Ashe arrow is going to miss, but the Camille's getting money. Rumble's still getting money, but we're getting one player back into the game, sort of, here for T1 versus just furthering that lead for Clear. I think T1 are playing this very well, putting the pressure on in mid, pushing Henna out of the lane, you know, forcing him to flash, getting him out, you know, trying to grab him with the arrow, and then really hold down mid control while they group for that top side play. They stem the bleeding a little bit bottom side, but at least trying to use your power point very well there in the mid lane. Speaking of.
Yeah, Henna came back. He doesn't have flash, and there's a Camille on the enemy team, so he's just going to go down. Doesn't get to play the game, as I said. Raptor also getting ganked in his own jungle by the rest of T1, so a couple of big picks here for the set of T1. There's no objective to really roll this into, but they're trying to really push their lead.
It's getting out macroed again, and now I'm going to have to flip back to I don't favor this game state for B&K anymore, as Closer's going to try to get something done.
All right, the charm in and the knock up here for Keria. He has to flash away Guma as well, being pressured, and now you've got a Rumble right underneath, but the magical journey is so good, and in goes Closer. And he is going to pick up that kill. Now the response, the stun comes in, the cleanse there, and the damage is just huge from the Lilia and from the Corki. They're chasing him down. And the chase potential of this squad is just so huge with these champions. So T1 able to strike back.
It just takes so long for the turnaround there for B&K to get those kills. They get the kill onto Guma, but Lilia shows up, and the front to back basically begins there. And it's just really easy for them to clean up houses. Well, watch how this starts off here. Hannah, the target, just desperately trying to farm, trying to catch waves. Clear is here with the equalizer, but it's very low value. Zayas is forced to flash, but they get away. And then all those minions are still crashing through. Over here, it's just split backs. Raptor is left alone because of the completion of the recall from Duro, who might have been able to help slow this down. So he ends up getting slept here and caught and then killed. And then in the mid lane, you could BNK are like, okay, well, we're starting to lose a little bit of control. We've got to do something here. Closer sees an all-in angle, has the double ultimate here. The charm comes through for Duro. Looks like at this moment, okay, we've got a small win, but probably don't chase. Clear flashes the wall here. The magical journey gets Keria and Guma out of dodge. They still end up getting Guma, but then the turn comes through. And you've already used all of your initiation. You've already used all your big ultimates. The equalizer used moments before.
Yeah, the flashes as well.
Yeah, you went way too deep. And T1 are just so good at saying, oh, look, maybe somebody's going to get caught. It's like they dangle themselves out in front of you. You get completely baited and go in, and then the turns are there. And this game was, just like 2-3 minutes ago, felt like, oh man, BNK have a really nice lead. Look at where the gold is. Two big whoopsies, and then T1 are completely in control.
Yeah. Really does feel like, Keria he's able to squeeze all the value out of the bar that just not many players are able to. Also, the other part is that BNK just going a bit too far. They do this sometimes, they are trying to return to their base foundation. Okay, we're the team that always fights, always attacks. And they did that, but they got punished. As now, Sleep might be coming in, and no steal this time, but they are going to catch Faker, who does have a magical journey, and he's going to flash into it and get away! And now the three-man Sleep comes in with the bowling ball. Everybody is caught up in this one, and BNK are caught again as the double kill goes over to Owner.
It's another bait! It's another one, Valdez! Triple. And a triple kill goes to Owner, and T1 once again look like fantastic targets. It looks like you have the setup. And man, that play from Faker there, absolutely chef's kiss.
Well, the play from Keria too.
Yeah.
I mean, just to lock him down and set up the magical journey. This guy just is, you can't stop him on the bar.
Well, you set up the big ultimate there, the Tempered Fate, as Faker's just like, all right, come get me. And then he flashes through and they still index into it. And between the two of them, they just knocked BNK out of this game and potentially out of this series. Nice equalizer attempt to maybe steal that one away. Well, so watch this again. Guma's on the cross here, slowing them on the approach. Really appreciate that. Now Faker gets caught here, but then carries over the wall. Tempered Fate comes through. And then Faker's like, all right, flashes through, and they're all like, better chase him. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
No!
It's BNK in a nutshell.
If weirdly enough, if Faker dies there, maybe they don't chase. Like if it doesn't flash perfectly, they don't chase. It's actually fine for BNK. But all he had to do was escape and then taunt them to chase him. And Keria sets it up with a perfectly timed Tempered Fate, like you say, and I thought we were going to have an interesting series. I thought maybe...
We said it. There's no stakes.
I did tell you guys all at the lunch table, at the dinner table, in the cafeteria before this series, I said, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be a 2-0 because whoever wins game 1 gets some momentum. But game 2 looked like that wasn't going to be the case until it was. Raptor finds an angle.
Nice cleanse comes in, and there's the arrow to the face, but the charm's still going to land. These two guys kind of caught out, but once again, Tempered Fate comes through, but Guma, no escape for him. Owner a lot more tanky, and Duro just going to go down to mostly Faker and a bit of damage from the Lilia as, man, Owner is just so incredibly fed at this point. Everything is burning, and Closer maybe gets hit. Nope, it's just going to be the Camille that does get on in. Raptor has to flash clear. There's just nowhere to go. And you gave him Rumble. You felt good about this one for the side of BNK. You get Rumble for clear, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, suddenly you blink your eyes, or maybe if you took a restroom break, a few minutes ago, you're washing your hands, you went and got a beer out of the fridge, you come back, you're like, how does Zayas have 5 kills? What happened in this one? How did that happen? How did that transpire? Last I was looking, he was massively behind. The Rumble was getting inner turrets. It's just, it can change in the blink of an eye with a team like this, and this is the coordination you want to be seeing from T1. This is what a T1 fan was dreaming of going in to watch today's matches, is just absolute domination, no doubts going into playoffs. And it looks like a good exchange, and then once again, Tempered Fate comes through, the sleep comes through, Duro is blown up by Faker, and then it's just an easy front to back, and Zayas is looking for the triple. You just watch these fights happen, and it's just B&K being on the edge, like, almost got him! Oh, we gotta get out of here! Like, every single fight has looked the same way, and it's so binary, like, so black and white. Game 1, no action, so passive. Game 2, too much aggression, too much indexing into chasing. But at this game state, I mean, who could blame them? The game was practically over before that play. Maybe they could have turned it around off of that one, but it's just, again, another punish from Keria. And now everybody's ahead.
Yeah, and once again, we're seeing the value of this Lilia. I mean, it's kind of insane what you can do when you're playing up against a tank jungler and you're playing Lilia, expecting the Sejuani to be picked. The Maokai was banned. Owner's like, yep.
He's up 4 levels because Duro's been in the death chamber half the game.
And for Owner, he didn't really do much in the early game, but eventually it's just become like a insane amount that this Lilia is able to do. You have so much control when you've got Lilia and Bardis. Now we're going to get the root down onto Faker. Another Temper Fate is going to come forward, but there's only so much they can do. A ton of damage goes into Duro as a bit of ticking down does happen from the Lilia. I think the wallets are just that big at this point in time.
And with a late cleanse there, just wanted to see if he could save it. As Keria's trying to set up a dive, they will wait for this next wave of minions before they go for anything here. I mean, Zaya still has ult, so it's hard for Closer to slide in and look for a play here. Just instantly get locked down by the Hextech ultimatum. So just kind of have to clear waves and cross their fingers that maybe there will be a scaling angle here. I mean, this area is on 2 items, now 3, as I say it. That's a big spike, but it might be a little bit too late. 6,500 gold behind.
Yeah, at least for B&K, it is Chemtech Soul. I mean, there is a bit of healing, a little bit of shielding, but it's not really that big of a deal.
A little bit of tenacity value.
Yeah, a little bit. You've already got cleanse, so. But yeah, this is just pretty far up from T1, and finally it feels like B&K are able to punish something, but then Baker just trades one back.
Yeah, I mean, it is a kill onto the support versus a kill onto the Corki, so that in itself is like a small win. But T1 could basically do no wrong at this stage of the game. B&K are going to need like 5 more plays like this to get back in, or just a big team fight wipe where T1 end up losing somebody and then the longer fight goes the way of B&K. I mean, Closer has to be the carry. He has to be the one to bring them back into this. Maybe an equalizer starts things off. It's going to be the dream if you're hoping to come back from this one. Otherwise, it is feeling like a nightmare in your final regular season series here for B&K. Zayas is now actually able to contend in the side lane with a Rumble after that triple kill.
They're just trying to posture around mid. I mean, this Baron is about to spawn 10 seconds, and you've got a very good turn on the side of T1. You can throw bowling balls, you can throw stuns in from the bar, Tempered Fates. Got a lot of ways, you know, even a Camille, obviously, to also pressure the side lane, and this is just one way to do it as well, I suppose. The Miguel's comes out, gets some value. They're going to catch only Duro as the equalizer gets some good value. Now B&K, we're going to try to take this fight. Owner has to flash away, and take a look at Zayas just trying to peel for the team, as he's going to have to throw down the ultimatum and flash away.
Okay, well, that was kind of the kind of fight I was talking about for B&K. You end up buffering the Ash arrow there as Raptor. Ult comes through, and then you see the equalizer layered on top. Owner loses a ton of health. He's got to flash away. Zayas has to peel, then flash away. You don't get the kills, you don't get the gold, but fights and skirmishes like that are what B&K need to be looking for. So keep your eyes on Raptor here at the beginning of this. Buffers the arrow away, then blast cones around, so they don't have the angle on where his ultimate's going to come from. So Owner then steps too far forward into this checkpoint, or choke point, doesn't really have a way to flash that there, and then ends up getting caught, has to flash away. Zayas ults to then buffer, to keep them away, to kind of create a buffer zone there, then flashes away himself. Is close to his GA now. They had gotten kills there. Maybe that's Baron. Maybe that's some standing goal on the map, the bounties that are up. See if they can make something like that happen again.
Yeah, definitely a lot of, waiting around, trying to get vision around this. With the Chemtech Rift, there are a lot of ways to clear vision. We talk about this quite a lot, just to try to deny it from the side of T1, who do have control over this Baron area. There is pretty much just the one ward on the blue buff, and that's about it. And Carrier and Goom are just trying to push them away alongside a Faker, it turns out. Duro just, with the Mikhail's first, he's just so squishy. I talked about it earlier on, he just doesn't do much. And now Raptor trying to get close to the pit. Here's the turn as well at T1. They do find it. Zeus not going to pull the trigger on the ultimatum.
No jungler, no equalizer, and T1 can just go straight back to the Baron with no fear here. And no fear X in the pit. I just don't see any way they can contest. Carrier just going to keep eyes on the BNK players. There's not even a dragon to take here.
What is he doing?
Area?
He's just following them.
Yeah, he's just keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
Babysitting.
I mean, eventually...
No backs allowed. You can't even buy items.
Well, he stopped Duro's back for just a little bit.
I mean, what else is he supposed to do? He's already cleared all the vision around the Baron. There's no dragon up. Was he just back and then walk down the... Nah, he's being proactive. Come on, Valdez. He's on par for... He's on pace for POG this game. You know, just... He could do no wrong, right? He's perfect.
God.
Yeah, Raptor just goes in, and then the equalizer, I guess, was hopefully going to save him and clear his mind in that moment, but he didn't really do anything with it.
He took the magical journey.
Yeah, well, I don't know why he did that. And then he's instantly, like, greeted by an arrow, because you know where the magical journey ends, actually.
Yeah. The amount of baiting that Carrier has done on this Bard, it has been very fun to watch.
17 out of 18 KP.
Has not died. And it's really fast. You know, they have the one Cloud Drake, he's Bard, and he's got Warmox, and now he's gonna find Clear. Mikhail's comes down, but Clear is just dead. And eventually, here comes the Sealed Fate as well, or the Tempered Fate, gonna catch Raptor, and everybody's just being hit in the face by some gigantic wallets on the side of T1. It is a clean ace, and that will do it for game number 2 in the series. T1 gonna go into playoffs with a 2-0 win.
No one really knew what the form was going to look like for T1 in an important match to deny BNK playoffs leading into this week. BNK already had it guaranteed, already had it on lock. I feel like nothing to play for here except the fans for T1, and they did play well.